Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm glad to see you again. The song, if you're with me here in Zoom, was Unstoppable. What is going on? You're with me here in Zoom was Unstoppable. Give us a moment. Give us a moment. Okay, let's try this. I was getting feedback. Okay, so we're all good. It looks like we're still live in YouTube, still live on Facebook. Yay. Okay, so welcome back, everyone. So I'm glad to see you all here back again today. If you were with me here in YouTube, I'm so sorry, and Zoom, we had the song Unstoppable that was playing while everyone was coming in. And that is a bold, powerful song. And that is exactly what we're going to be tapping into today, is being unstoppable, being confident at the piano. Now, I want to start today by asking you a question. And what if the biggest thing blocking your piano progress is not your technique? But what if it is the image that you hold of yourself? And yesterday we spoke about our self-image. We kind of rewrote that self-image script. I'm the type of pianist that does whatever. We wrote that out. Because here's the truth. We do not rise from our level of potential. And there's a saying that is very common, and it's the road to hell is full of good intentions. Everyone has potential. And a lot of people have got very good intentions. Oh, I will do that. I'm going to go practice. I'm going to practice 5 hours tomorrow. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And how many times do we actually do it? How many times do we actually rise to our full potential? Very often we don't. But we either rise or we fall to the level of our self-image. So wherever you've got your self-image at, what kind of pianist are you? What kind of pianist are you whenever you sit down to play in front of a crowd of people? You know, oftentimes we don't rise up to our level of potential. We've got potential coming out of our ears, but most of the time we don't rise to that level. We rise only to the level of our self-image. And when you sit at the piano, what stories are in your mind? What stories play out in your mind? Oh my God, I'm going to mess this up again. Oh my God. I have this piece committed to memory, but I'm going to get to measure 53 and it's going to go poof. And then I'm going to sit here looking like an idiot trying to fumble my way through. Is that the story you're telling yourself? And if so, that's okay. And if that happens to you, let's say it happens, if it does happen, let me give you a solution to that. And so what I do, whenever I sit down at the piano and I have this piece that I have just been working on tirelessly, and I am trying so hard to get this piece, just performance ready. And there's a few measures there that I know that I could possibly screw up. It's happened. It does happen. So what I've done is I've said, okay, measures 53 through 62 is where my memory lapses. I will mark those measures, and of course I do extra practice. But what I do is I don't focus on, oh my God, I'm going to mess up. I will sit down and say, okay, what's the worst that could absolutely happen? Well, measures 62, 53 through 62, I lose it. Okay, I forget everything right there. That's where my memory lapses. And so I write that out. Well, what's the worst that could happen? I am performing this and it goes bloop, right out of my mind. Okay, cool. If that happens, how will I survive? Well, I'll survive by bringing my music and having measures 52 through 63 highlighted right there. So if while I'm playing, should my memory lapse, I can look up, grab those measures, keep playing, and none the wiser. Now, what would I love to happen? And then I'll write down what I would love to happen. Well, I would just love to play from beginning to end and not forget one single thing. Now, what I've done is I've taken that story that I was telling myself at the piano. I took that story, and instead of making it just so, oh my God, I took it, and instead of beating myself up, oh my God, you're going to forget this, I made it empowering. So I took it, I said, okay, this is the way it is. I'm messing up here. I'm forgetting here. What's the worst that could happen? I totally forget it and make a fool of myself. Okay, how will I survive? I will bring my music and mark those measures. Okay, cool. Now, what would I love to happen? I would love to play from beginning to end without forgetting any of my notes. And so what I do is I focus on what I want. Now, I have a plan in case everything falls out, in case everything just happens and I'm stuck there and I forgot everything. I have that planned. So maybe the story that you're telling yourself whenever you sit at the piano, maybe that story is, I'm rusty. Maybe it could be my hands and my fingers are just way too weak. I always mess up under pressure. My right hand is keeping with the rhythm, but my left hand just cannot keep up. I just don't know what I'm doing anymore. Maybe these are stories that you are telling yourself at the piano. And even if those thoughts, even if those stories feel true, they're not always facts. They're reflections of an outdated self-image. So here's another tool that you can look at and you can use. I'm full of tools today. So whenever you're going through something, you're like, okay, is this just my outdated self-image, or is this really the way that it is? So let me share with you a tool that I have used. I think it's fabulous. Now, this does require you to be absolutely honest with yourself and not play the victim. Also look at yourself, be very, very honest. Not beat yourself up, not judge yourself, but just say it the way it is. No judgment. And that tool is facts and stories. So you may have these thoughts that, I just don't know what I'm doing anymore. I have no clue. My right hand keeps up with the rhythm. My left hand just lags behind, whatever that is. So sit down with a pen and a paper and write it out. Write it out exactly how it is. And then ask yourself, are there facts that say that this is in fact true? Does my left hand lag behind my right hand? Yes, my left hand lags behind my right hand. But does that mean that I don't know what I'm doing anymore? That's the way I feel, but no, that's not really true, because I know I can read both. I can read the grand staff. I can start listing out things you can do. Okay, and so more times than not, you're going to look and say, you know what? I have these stories that I've made up in my mind around the facts. Because this happened, I made up a whole story. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, this. And so look at those facts and stories. More times than not, you change those facts into stories to keep yourself safe. So let me say this again, maybe a little bit different way. You're not struggling at the piano because you're incapable. You're struggling because your identity is still wrapped in a version of you that no longer exists. And yesterday we talked about rewriting that self-image script. So today, let's make that real. So imagine you kind of walk up on stage and the room is silent. Your name is announced, right? And you take your seat at the piano. Now, let's just pause right here. What emotions surfaced? Did you feel proud? Did you feel calm? Excited? Okay. Did you feel dread? Some people feel dread, pressure, tightness in your chest. Or here's a good one, a very good one. You'll go to perform and your knees start knocking while you're trying to play. It's absolutely crazy. That emotional response is shaped by your internal self-image. That version of you that your mind has memorized. Oh my God, I don't deserve this. So what happens? You self-sabotage. So if your internal picture is, I'll just mess up, I'll shake, or I panic, your body responds accordingly. Make sense or make sense? Awesome. So self-image is not permanent. Thankfully, it can absolutely be rewritten. And today I'm going to show you exactly how we begin doing that. So let me introduce you to the concept of repetition with emotion. And this is how your current self-image was formed in the first place. So repeating a thought, often with strong emotion, until it became your default. The problem is most of us repeat negative emotions: fear, shame, comparison, doubt. Okay, what we're going to do is interrupt that cycle and install a new self-image using deliberate repetition, visualization, and embodiment. So let's go ahead and do this together. I want you to sit comfortably. If you want to close your eyes, imagine yourself walking into a room with a piano. This time, instead of maybe feeling doubt, worry, shame, nervousness, oh my God, I'm going to mess up. Walk in and walk tall. Your breath is steady. You take your seat. You breathe deeply. Now place your hands on the keys. You don't rush and try to hurry through your piece of music as fast as you can. You don't do that. You don't worry. You simply begin. And the music flows. It doesn't flow perfectly, but it flows freely. You smile. You correct yourself with grace. You don't beat yourself up. You feel grounded, present. You feel proud. Hold that vision for just a moment. Now, while you're holding that vision, what do you look like? What are you wearing? Are you wearing a ball gown or maybe a tux if you're a guy? What expression is on your face? Now, I want you to take what you just imagined, and I want you to anchor this new self-image. You can grab your notebook, write down these 4 words: calm, confident, centered, capable. I'll go through it again. Calm, confident. It's the 4 C's. Calm, confident, centered, and capable. Now, this is who you are becoming. This is the version of you that we are calling forward. And every time you sit at the piano, every time you sit down to play the piano, practice the piano, perform, whatever it is, if you play in church, whatever that looks like, every time you sit at the piano, I want you to visualize that self that we just described. Not the version of you from the past. We're done with that. We're moving on. But the person who knows that they are safe to be seen, safe to play, safe to grow at the piano. So here's the things most adult learners don't realize. You don't become confident after you improve. You improve after you become confident. After you are saying, okay, this is me at the piano. After you stop beating yourself up for making mistakes. And you're like, you know what? I made a mistake. Oh, well, it happens. Let's go again. Once you do that, you start to become more confident, because confidence isn't proof of mastery. It's a state of mind that creates mastery. So I'll go ahead and share a quick story. I have a student, an incredibly talented woman. She could play scales flawlessly, chords flawlessly. She could do all of this at home flawlessly, beautifully. But the moment anyone, including myself, watched her, she froze. Her hands would shake. She'd lose her place. She couldn't read music all of a sudden. She could read music. If she thought that you were not watching her, she could read music perfectly. And every time, we would have her lesson, she'd say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I promise I could play this perfectly. I just played it right before you came on. So we worked with her not to necessarily improve her skills, because she could read music beautifully. She was an awesome sight reader. But we had to work to improve her self-image, and everything changed. And really what this is we had to do visualization, and we had to go in, and we talked about facts and stories a little while ago. So that was one of those tools that I used with her. And the reason I used that is because she had a story that was going on and on and on in her head about something that happened when she was a child, something that happened at a performance when she was a child. And so she kept that all these years. And so once she returned to the piano, well, that mentality returned with her because it never left. And so that's how she saw herself as a pianist. So we did this exact visualization. We created a version of her who felt grounded. We anchored it and we repeated it. And I would say 2 weeks, just a very few weeks after we started doing that, she played for her church. She played in front of people with confidence, not because she just fixed her technique. No, her technique was fine. But because she believed she belonged at the piano again. And so really honing in on, this is who I am at the piano. So what? If I make a mistake, so what? So today's tool, the mirror reframe exercise, I do a version of this, and I'm going to share 2 different tools that I do. I told you I'm all about tools today. YouTube is going to be like, you know what? We're sick of this tool lady. She's giving us too much. So here's a challenge just for tonight. Stand in front of your mirror. Look at yourself in your eyes. Now, this may seem a little bit awkward at first. If you've never done like inner child healing or something like that, it may seem a bit awkward. It may seem a bit weird at first. Just hang in there with me, because I promise it will get better. But say, I am becoming the kind of pianist who plays with calm and confidence. It may feel awkward. It's okay. Do it anyways. Repeat it 3 times with your hand over your heart. I am the kind of pianist who plays calmly and with confidence, or whatever you want to say, whatever that version of you is. If you can, there's something I've done. I've recorded myself. I've got on my phone, I've got a voice loop app that I use. And I have rewrote my self-image script. Every time I go for a different goal, I redo my self-image. And so I rewrote my self-image and I just recorded myself saying my self-image script. And then I listened to it with headphones over and over and over and over. So that's something that you can do. Just 30 seconds of a piece and watch it back with, listen to it back. Listen to it with love, not sitting there beating yourself up, and listen to it with love. So before we go on to your homework, I'd like to take this time and give you a chord progression that is very commonly used if you are already a pianist, and if you're in the jazz sector, you already know this chord progression. If you're not in the jazz sector, you may or may not know this chord progression. I personally teach this to all of my students. Anyone coming in, this is one of those chord progressions that is a must. And it is the 1, the 4, and the 5. So I want to leave you with a little bit of a win today. And we're going to go from the key of C, and let's see if we can do this here. I hope that YouTube can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. I don't know about Facebook. Can you hear the piano, Facebook? Yes or no? You can put it in the chat. Okay. Anyways, let's go forward. So now that we've reignited your confidence and mindset, I want to give you a musical tool that you can rely on to boost your confidence at the piano every time you sit at the piano. So if you're reading music, this is still a very powerful tool. If you play by ear, this is still a very powerful tool, and it's something that you need to know. And so we're going to do the 1, 4, and 5 chord progression. We're going to do it in the key of C. So if you remember from yesterday, if you're just starting out, you can find your C. So here is our C. So we're going to start with C, and you have C. This is your 1, D, E, F. Okay, so C, D, E, F. 1, 2, 3, 4. So F is your 4 chord, and 5 is G, which is your 5 chord. So this progression, this particular chord progression, is probably one of the most commonly used, especially in Western music. Whether you're playing pop, you could be playing blues, gospel, even classical music does incorporate this chord progression. And these 3 chords are everywhere. And when you understand how they work, you unlock the ability to accompany yourself, improvise, even write your own songs. So this is a very, 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 very powerful chord progression. So let's go ahead and get started. If you want to go to your piano, that's fine. If you just want to take notes, that's fine. What is the 1, the 4, and 5 progression? It is in any given key, the 1 chord is your home base. It's built off the first note of the scale. So as I just showed you, we found C, and we said that C was our one chord. C is our home base. If we're playing in the key of C, then C is our home base. That's our, if you're playing baseball, you know, you have home base, well, that's the C chord in our case today. The 4 chord is built off the 4th note of the scale, so you count up 4. So 1 being home, 2, 3, 4. So the 4th note of that scale, it often brings a sense of lift or movement. Now the 5th is just 1 above the 4th, right? And the 5th chord is built off the 5th note. It adds tension and it adds energy that naturally wants to resolve back to that 1 chord. So use the key of C major basically for simplicity, and you've got the 1 chord, which is C, E, G, and then let's count up 4, C, D, E, F. Okay, so here's our 4 chord, which is F, A, C, and then count up 1 to 5, right? Which is G, B, D. I'm showing you this in root position, C, E, G, F, A, C, G, B, D. And these 3 chords are often played in order, C, F, G, C. We've heard that in so many pop songs and so much of that, but you can also rearrange these as C, G, F, C. So let's go over that again. So 1, now let's go to the 5, 4, and then back to the 1. So there's 1. You can also take it and do C, 1, F, 4 chord, and then G. So there's a way you could do that as well. You can do all kinds of things with this particular chord progression. And these chords give you instant harmony. You don't need to know hundreds of shapes to sound good. So this is a quick, easy win. If you don't know the 1, 4, 5 chord progression, you know, this that I just showed you, and it will be available on replay. So if you missed any of it, you can go back and rewatch it. You can play hundreds of songs just using the 1, 4, and 5 in different keys. It gives you something concrete that you can come back to when your mind is overwhelmed or unsure. This is your musical anchor, and this is one of those things that I teach each and every one of my students, because the 1, 4, 5, you're going to find that everywhere. Now, once you get a little bit further down, of course, there's tons of different chord progressions, especially once you get into the minors and all of that. So it can get very fun. This is just home base. This is a quick, easy win. So when you're learning something new, you don't have to know it all at once. Mastery comes from repetition, and it comes from simplicity. So rather than trying to learn everything all at once, start with the chords that show up in everything, which is usually the 1, 4, and 5. And I remember someone had shared this with me, and it's a very popular saying, so you probably heard it too. said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So don't try to go out here and learn everything all at once and you're just going to absorb it all at once. You're so smart. You are smart. Yes. You're doing wonderful. Yes. But instead of doing it all at once, mastery comes from repetition. And repetition and simplicity. So don't try to learn everything at once. Start with just some chords. The 1, 4, and 5. Let these chords remind you that you're safe to return home. The 1 chord. Explore possibilities. The 4 chord. And lean into bold action. So you hit that 5 chord. And then you can go back home. So have fun with it. That's something you can take and kind of work with, have some fun with. So let's go on to homework. So the homework for today is to practice your visualization before you practice at the keys. Visualize that person walking to the piano. What's your new self-image? Visualize that. Then write down and say your identity statement daily. I am the kind of pianist who. Share 1 sentence from today's takeaway on social media and tag me. I know James, who is here with us in Zoom, he is awesome about doing that. So you will see me tagged in all kinds of stuff. And I appreciate it. So tag me in 1 sentence from today's takeaway. 1 thing you took away from today and tag me in it. And the rest of you feel free to do the same. So I want you to remember this as we're closing. Confidence is not arrogance. And we oftentimes get that very confused. But it's an agreement with who God created you to be. So tomorrow we're going to dive into something that holds many pianists back, and it's fear of performing. And if you've ever felt frozen up, blanked out, shaking uncontrollably whenever you're performing, please don't miss tomorrow's session, because I'm going to give you tools of how to overcome that. I have dealt with it. I have found tools that just absolutely work beautifully. So we're not done building our new mindset. We're just beginning. So you are calm, you are confident, you are centered, and you are capable. So I will see everyone tomorrow, same time, same link. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day.